Hey everybody, this is Ted Check, recovering reporter. Here's a headline from theguardian.com. U.S. newspapers are deleting old crime stories, offering subjects a quote-unquote clean slate. A wave of local publications are considering requests to wipe or edit old articles to give their subjects a fresh start. Now, having spent 25 years in the newspaper business as mainly as a crime reporter, I came across this issue many times. And well, let's read on here and see what the latest is, because I've been out of the business for about 3.5 years. Although I have close ties to it because I'm on the other side of things now. As a public relations specialist, I deal with the media almost on a daily basis. So, civil rights activists, advocates across the U.S. have long fought to free people from their criminal records, with campaigns to expunge old cases and keep people's past arrests private when they apply for jobs and housing. The efforts are critical as more than 70 million adults have prior convictions or arrests, roughly 1 in 3 adults. Wow. Wow, I don't even know if I knew that. But the policies haven't addressed one of the most damaging ways past run-ins with police can derail people's lives: old media coverage. Okay, so people would call me, or they would call the editors and say, hey, you wrote something about me several years ago because I committed a crime, or I was convicted of a crime, and it's making things difficult in my life for me to move on. And you know, it's an honest point. However, the other side of it is, you know, newspapers, if newspapers are the chroniclers, are the kind of the modern day historians. If we chronicle history day to day, this is part of history, is it not? You know, what we cover, what happens, it happened in a moment in time, and the newspaper reflects that. Is it fair then to go back and rewrite history? Does it say something about the newspaper's credibility if you do something like that? If you start removing things, if you start erasing things, where do you stop with it? It's a slippery slope. Some would argue. Some would argue. So let's read on here. In the old days, you put a story in the newspaper and it quickly, if not immediately, receded into memory. This is Chris Quinn, editor of Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer newspaper. But because of our search engine power, anything we write now about somebody is always front and center, and that's true. You know, you can do a search, but isn't that is it necessary that someone's past, or is it yeah, I guess necessary. Is it necessary that someone's past follow them? So in other words, if I'm an employer, do I have a right to know that somebody committed a crime several years prior? Is it necessary that I know that? Should there be a question on applications? Were you ever convicted of a crime? You know, do employers have a right to know such a thing? So then this guy, Quinn, pioneered a right to be forgotten experiment in 2018, motivated by the many inquiries he would receive from subjects describing the harms of past crime coverage and pleading for deletion. People would say, your story is wrecking my life. I made a mistake, but I've changed my life. So your story is wrecking my life, or you wrecked your life because you committed a crime? Just putting that question out there. You know, some would argue, hey, you made the decision, you wrecked your own life, now you have to deal with that. Others could say, well, you know what, you may have committed a crime, but you know, you have it's your decision it's your job now to surmount that, to get past that. I mean, someone could make the Marion Barry defense and say, look, Marion Barry was the mayor of Washington, D.C., and then he was convicted of crack cocaine possession, but lo and behold, he made a political comeback. He was again elected as mayor of Washington, D.C. After that, he served time. He served time for the crack cocaine possession, and then he staged a political comeback, a successful political comeback, and was again voted in, elected as mayor of Washington, D.C. So it can be done. Some might argue that. Um, Now, this guy, Quinn, goes on to say, I couldn't take it anymore. I just got tired of telling people no and standing on tradition instead of being thoughtful. So he couldn't take it anymore. So one might wonder, well, is that just your will? You don't have enough willpower to continue to tell people, hey, sorry, what we wrote is what we wrote, and it's not incorrect. What we wrote is not incorrect. If it's incorrect, then sure. Like say somebody was charged with a crime, and then they're acquitted, or the charges were dropped. Then you could put something across the top. You put something you know above the story. You say, hey, look, this is what really happened, or this is an addendum to the story. You don't wipe the story entirely. You just say, yes, this person was charged, and then here's the update. You update the story. That's another argument that could be made. Um, Especially in those conditions, I would say an update is necessary if someone is acquitted, or if the charges are dropped. Um, and in some cases, you might even want to do a story about the person as to how they turned their life around. If they were charged with a crime and they were convicted of a crime and they did their time, or they, whatever the penalties were, and then they turned things around, that could be a good feature story. I don't know what's going on with my camera here. Um, yeah, well, hopefully it looks all right. But I'm going to keep going here. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, this is a movement that's going on, but there are arguments on both sides. Um, what's more? I guess the main question is, what's more valuable, the story remaining available to the public, or this person being able to move on? Um, that is a question. You could say there's another guiding question. What about our credibility as a newspaper? If we're just um, if we get the reputation of excuse me, if we get the reputation of just willy nilly, pell mell willy nilly, we're gonna wipe out stories. What kind of what good are we, or how does that damage our credibility as a news source? These are questions to be asked. Yeah, questions to be considered. But some might say, hey, why are we trying to be kinder and gentler to the criminals, to those convicted? Um, they made the decision to commit the crime. It's something to consider, and so there is this movement that's afoot, and also this delves into mugshots. I'm in favor of mugshots. I always was in 25 years. I think it's necessary, and I think mainly covering crime hyper local, as one person puts it, hyper local crime is necessary um, for situational awareness. You need to know, as for survival, you need to know what's going on around you, what crimes are being committed, who's committing them, where they're occurring. I think it's necessary for an individual's survival to know as much as possible about what's going on around you, and part of that comes from the newspaper. That's a main source for finding out such information. But a lot to consider here. But this is a trend that is going on in journalism right now, and but yeah, as far as the mugshots, I'm not in favor of getting rid of mugshots. I think we should have mugshots with every story that it is available. If the mugshots are available, I think they should go along with the story, and it does relate to credibility, and people would wonder, in the audience, they would wonder, why are you trying to hide this person, or why are you trying to protect this person if they've been charged with such a crime? But then, If the charges are wiped, then yeah, you should update the story. Let me know your thoughts, and I will talk to you later.